If you're finding value in these conversations, consider supporting Elvin and Joe. As a supporter, you'll get early ad-free access, plus exclusive leadership-focused content. It's only $5.99 a month or $44.99 a year. You can also donate or even gift a subscription to a colleague at edupexperience.com. That's edupexperience.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Dr. Joe Salustio back on another episode. And I have to tell you guys, if you hear me cough, I am a little bit under the weather. Usually my voice is a lot higher. Today it's a little bit deeper, but the show rolls on, as it were, because my guest is eager to talk about the university in which he leads. Before we get to that, I do want to remind the audience of a couple quick things that you've heard me remind you of every single time you listen, but I still have to do it because this is, an important thing for us. Number one, we are, the EdUp Experience, leading the first ever inaugural higher education podcasting event on July 12th in Chicago. We are hosting Higher Ed PodCon, which you can find out more information at higheredpodcon.com. The first ever higher ed podcasting conference. There's so many podcasters in higher ed talking about podcasting for enrollment, for marketing, for teaching, for learning, for alumni engagement, for student profiles, for getting in the ears of your potential student or highlighting those graduates that have gone out. There's podcasters that are faculty, that are administrators, that are presidents. And we said, why isn't there an event for these people? So we're putting on that event on the campus of the University of Illinois, Chicago on July 12th, 2025. Check out the website. Consider joining us. Number two, remember EdUp Editorials, which is where we publish articles from our colleagues across the industry. If you have something that you write that talks about the positive parts of higher education, maybe something going on in your campus, some new program that you're launched, some innovation that you have going on, you write it up, a story, an article about it. Sometimes trade publications don't want those stories because there isn't enough angle in them, if you will. Well, we have to get those stories out there, and the EdUp Experience wants to put them out for you. We publish them. We send them out to our worldwide audience. So if you've got something you want to write, submit it to us, me, Elvin, the EdUp Experience, and we will publish those articles. Okay, now that I've got that out of the way, I was just thinking I should probably pre-record all that and just hit a button and it would just say all those things. And every single time I do this podcast, I say those same two things. And I'm just going, maybe I should record it. Anyway, as a podcaster, maybe we'll find out more about that at Higher Ed PodCon. You like that tie-in? Let's get to our guest right now. I think I've rescheduled on him a couple times. It's been my fault. And, of course, today I was like, oh, gosh, not feeling that well. But there's no way I'm going to do it to him again. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is. He's Dr. Bennie Harris. He's president at the University of South Carolina Upstate. Dr. Harris, welcome to an EdUp. Mike, how are you?
Welcome, Joe. I've never had anyone applause for me to come on a podcast or anything otherwise, but it's exciting.
Well, now you'll remember it forever. You'll remember the EdUp Experience.
I will.
Well, listen, it's an honor to have you here. We always like to assume that there's somebody in the audience that hasn't heard of USC Upstate or know much about it. So we'd like you to give us the once over. Where are you located? Who do you serve, and how do you serve them?
Thank you. First, thank you for allowing me to be on your show. And I'm one who always believed that being able to amplify the message of education, the impact that education has on the lives of so many in terms of creating opportunities for them is critically important. And as such, the University of South Carolina Upstate is an institution, it's a regional comprehensive university. We have about 5,400 students at the university. We have a doctoral degree, and we're going to add others. We have master's degrees and about 50 undergraduate degrees. We started in 1967 as a school, the Mary Black School of Nursing, as a result of Spartanburg General, which is the regional hospital, closing its nursing program. And the person who directed that program put forth an institution, which was the School of Nursing, the Mary Black School of Nursing. Out of that, it developed into a comprehensive university. And as a part of the system of universities and the University of South Carolina Upstate, South Carolina, we have 4 universities and that systems and 4 2-year colleges in that system, making 8 institutions a part of the University of South Carolina system. And we are the second largest of the flag, except for the flagship. We serve a lot of first-generational students. We serve students who come from the region of the Upstate, which is a 10-county region in South Carolina, the northern 10-county regions. We're located in Spartanburg County, and Spartanburg County represents about 1/3 of the economic growth in the state of South Carolina, 1/3. And we've held that position for a number of years now. We are the home of BMW USA. We have Michelin headquarters. We have a number of other companies in this area. We have about 575 global companies in the upstate of South Carolina. And I share that in my introduction because it's going to influence the type of institution we are, the type of students we serve, and what we're preparing them for.
We love economic impact because that's what it's. Colleges and universities, we always talk about the operations of the students we serve, the present value, and sometimes not as much about that value over time economically in the region for years and years, and the dependency that business and industry has on higher ed. And that's why I was happy to see the recent report that came out from Lumina and Gallup that said, I thought it said 8 out of 10 students who are enrolled in higher ed institutions still see the value of higher education. It was like, finally, something comes out that is saying what we all know to be true instead of all the noise. And you think about all those things tying together, the value, economic impact, and the story that we need to tell maybe a little bit better. Exactly.
So when you think about at USC Upstate, we have a $623 million economic impact in our region, in the state. That's a pretty substantial economic impact that we have. And we have a 96% placement rates for our students, meaning that when our students graduate from USC Upstate, within 3 months, and we measure within a 3-month period, when nationally they measure somewhere around 6 months. Within 3 months, 96% of our students are either in a job or in graduate school. And we are ranked number 1 in South Carolina in social mobility in terms of the impact, and we're ranked number 6, I believe, in the Southeast. But in terms of what we do changed the lives. Now, when you talk about the value of higher education and the perceived value, and the question that's being asked is there an ROI? The image of higher education, it is really interesting. The people who ask those questions, all of their kids have college degrees, right? So who are you talking to? Who are you telling that you don't need a 4-year degree to achieve value? U.S. News and World Report, I believe, just did a report, I don't have it with me, that said there's still a 12 to 15% rate of return, annual rate of return on a college on a 4-year degree in comparison to a 2-year and a high school degree. So we still see that over the lifetime of a person's work experience, that 4-year degree is still pretty phenomenal. We have about 55% of our students who are on Pell Grants. 60% of them receive student loans. So the national conversation we're having right now around student aid is really relevant and will have a significant impact on the students that we serve and the communities that we serve.
You have your story is interesting because you have a great, wide, varied background in higher ed. You started your presidency in what could be described as the literal middle of COVID. And I don't want to rehash the COVID conversation because it's been done, but I want to know about your mindset going into this, because your presidency is there. You see USC Upstate. It's not what, like any president that started during COVID compared to a president who started pre-COVID, it's a completely different gig at the beginning. What was it like going into this for you, and what attracted you to USC Upstate?
And Joe, actually, our COVID story is going to be pretty interesting. I think I'm going to write about it because I think it's really a wonderful leadership story. This is my first chancellorship. And what attracted me to this institution was the diversity that is institution of this university. And it happened right after the cusp of George Floyd, if you recall.
Yep.
where the country was extremely divided, a lot of divisiveness around race, around inclusion, all of these types of things. So when I looked at USC Upstate and saw the ethnic diversity of this institution, it had about 52% white students, and the other 48% was broken among African American, Latinx, Asian, Pacific Islanders, et cetera, students. So my thinking was that it made this institution so attractive that if we can figure out how to have a common goal around humanity, if we can figure out as a university how to talk together, how to rise together, how to have very difficult conversation, then our students can model for the world and for the globe how to do that. My personal mission statement and purpose and what I do is to inspire and develop young people to change the world. That is my personal mission. And I'm very clear about that. I'm very clear about why God put me on this earth and how I get my greatest fulfillment when I see young people doing things that empower and improve themselves and improving the lives of their communities and others. So COVID presented us an opportunity. It presented us an opportunity in a crisis to pause and really to create a common alignment, because we all, when you're at the bottom, and let's say COVID was our bottom from a crisis perspective, the only place you can go is up.
That's right.
So from a leadership perspective, I tell my cabinet that my leadership mantra, if I had a quote, it would be to absorb chaos, project calm, and give hope. To absorb chaos, project calm, and give hope. That's the role of a leader. So COVID was a chaotic moment. And what my community, my faculty, my staff, and my students needed me to project a level of calm. And that calmness means that we got this, okay? We have been thinking about this. We have played out so many different scenarios. We live in a red state. There's expectation from our governor that we come back in. We have public health issues that we need to deal with, but we got this. And if the community hears that and not hear the divisive politics around the chaos, but hear that leaders have this under control by having real scenarios that we have played out, then the community will start to build trust. And that's what we needed, okay? And then give them hope, right? So we came, and part of our COVID story was that USC Upstate had about 6,300 students in 2019, FTE, or headcount rather, in 2019. When I came to the institution, it had dropped, not just because of COVID, but it had dropped because of free tuition for technical college that the state had. If you recall, and I'm sure you do, this is your area of expertise, research universities started having open enrollment.
That's right.
We had Clemson and we had USC, University of South Carolina, start having open admissions. So a significant portion of our students who would come to Regional Comprehensive University were going to research university.
Yeah.
So now we have free tuition. We have more competition in the marketplace. People aren't having babies in other parts of the country, so they come into South Carolina to get our 18-year-old. So we come there, and what we did with COVID, we cut $10 million from our budget. We bottom out in our enrollment and turned that number around 2 years early. We've been since having 5%, 6% overall increase in our enrollment, 9%, 14% increase in new student enrollment. And we've started new degrees, we've started new programs, and we ripped 0 employees.
Okay? Tell them like it is.
And we have a fund balance that continues to grow and increase. And we build a new building library addition on our campus, and we invest in other programs. So all of these and what I tell my folks is that it's not an either or, it's an and. Yep. We can respect the public health agenda and keep our folks safe, and we can grow our institution and be compliant with the state and what our state and governor expects of us in terms of being face-to-face, showing up, et cetera.
That's the numbers you went over. Whenever you can string a bunch of numbers together in a positive way in higher ed, which is more on the rare side these days, increase in new student enrollment year over year, +9, +14, those things, those are a rarity. We're seeing schools close. We're seeing some shrinking. the demographic cliff, the whole enrollment cliff conversation, well, it's here for some schools, maybe those that were less prepared. What do you think is differentiating you from the pack right now that sets USC Upstate apart where you're seeing that gain?
I'm going to say number one is leadership. We were just ranked in great college to work for, the first time in the history of our institution, and we were ranked in 3 categories: faculty, trust, and confidence. We were ranked in faculty governance, and we were ranked in confidence in our leadership. Okay, so again, one of the first thing I did when I came here was to convene a summit called Reimagine Upstate. It was an enrollment and retention summit on campus within the first 4 months of being at USC Upstate, and to make this crisis all of our crisis, and to say that enrollment and retention is all of our business. It is our faculty business, it's our maintenance business, it is our facilities business, it's our vendors business, it's all of our business. And we had about 400 people to come to that summit with students, and we broke up into working groups, and we established some things that took place in terms of what they want to do to improve, help to recruitment, all these type of things, and retain students. And we put those action items to work. And we reported back regularly on how we were making progress on what you recommended that we do to increase enrollment and retention. We won as a result of that and many other activities. We became one of the first institutions inaugural award for the Post-Secondary Success Award by the U.S. Department of Education. Out of 200 universities across the country that are qualified to participate in this award, we were one of 6, 3 universities chosen to receive that. It became similar to the Malcolm Baldrige Award for education in terms of student success. And so under the previous administration, we won that award, and it was given to us in January of this past year. And that kind of speaks to all the work that we did. So we took it, I like to say, never miss an opportunity to grow out of a crisis, okay? So we took a moment and we did that. So the differentiating thing between us and some institutions, I believe, is our leadership. That includes myself, my cabinet, and my executive team. And then percolating that leadership throughout the entire organization. So every person is a leader. The custodial worker, she's a leader, he's a leader. The maintenance worker is a leader, and they can all lead from that particular vantage point, number one. Number two, having a common crisis and a common aspiration. We were able to identify what those common crises are. COVID presented one for us, right? And then we had common challenges and threat to our industry that we had to recognize. Free tuition, all of those headwinds, competition with the research, even within our system institution, the enrollment cliff that people were preparing for and coming and giving money to South Carolina students, and having an enrollment mix that was just not about getting whatever student wanted to come here, but being very selective. We're very thoughtful about the enrollment management piece. And so we created some scholars program. So we have significant excellence in our students. 100% of our students were accepted into med school on their first try, and we had the largest class to apply. We have a 99.6% NCLEX passing rate on our nursing exam.
That's
so
good.
All of those speak to the excellence that exists. Cybersecurity, computer science. We started an engineering program. So I think the differentiating factor for us was recognizing that. And there are some other things we did that we may get a chance to talk about in this podcast that I think makes a difference as well in continuous process improvement.
By the way, I'm glad to call out on the NCLEX, because when you get a 96% pass rate, that's amazing.
96.6.
I don't want to cut you short. 96.6. That's good. That's me. Because I've run and been involved in nursing programs before. That's a tough test for nursing students. They even when they practice test and they get the green light and they go out and test. Well, it's very rare that you see scores that high. It speaks to the rigor, to the preparation that your staff is creating for students, and nurses are always and forever going to be needed. So that's congratulations on that. That's incredible.
Dr. Shalitha Lee and her team did an exceptional job. She's the dean of the College of Nursing, Mary Black College of Nursing, and they do an exceptional job every day on that.
Yeah. Let's talk about vets. Because I saw some stuff, veterans, that you're really doing a great job serving veterans. I think you were on the best college as number 2 in the state for serving veterans. What does it take? I hear schools that we serve veterans. We want to serve more veterans. But when you serve veterans, it's not the same as it is to serve a traditional student. There's differences. There's tuition reimbursement. There's the chapters. There's deployments and schedules, and there's the MTA and all of these things that affect vets. What makes a school successful to serve veterans, and what are you doing?
I think the authentic commitment to our veterans is number one. It's not just words. It's not just cool to recognize our veterans and cool to recognize our military and be respectful of what they do to protect our democracy and our safety. But there's a real commitment at USC Upstate by the people who serve our veterans on the front line. And they continue to look to me to affirm that and to model that commitment in the things that I do as Chancellor of the university. And so I speak regularly at the commissioning ceremonies for all of our ROTC players, students, et cetera. I go to other types of opportunity with the Army and other branches of the military to learn more about the support that it provides to our institution. Our faculty create seamless pathways for courses that veterans have taken, military families and people have taken, and how we translate those courses into a curriculum that makes a seamless pathway for them. How do we make sure that we're able to answer the question that they don't even know to ask? So our staff stays very, very competent and capable in understanding what their benefits offered them. And so when they present us with the challenge, we probably know the answer to that particular challenge because we have worked with them, we have educated ourselves, and we try to create community for our veterans where they can hang out, their families can come and hang out and chill, just connecting with people who have a familiarity with their experiences. We at every moment, we thank them. I think attitude of gratitude really shows people that we appreciate what you do and we appreciate the sacrifices that you have made for me to be able to even have this conversation with you right now.
Amazing.
I love it. I love the commitment. I think it matters a lot. Universities have varying degrees of support for veterans, so I love to talk to those that are really committed to it because I think that you're right. Otherwise, we don't get to have this conversation, right?
Right.
To shift a little bit, kind of going back to the value conversation, one of the things that has come up and keeps coming up, and by the way, I was laughing inside when you talked about that people who are saying that college doesn't have value are going to send their kids to college. They're not having that conversation. I've said it on this podcast. When I see people put stuff out there that's like, well, college isn't worth it, and I'm like, tell me what the conversation sounds like when you go tell your kid. What does it sound like? Give me the words that you're going to use.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Thank you.
Stay ahead of the conversation in higher ed. Get early, ad-free access, and exclusive leadership content by supporting Elvin and Joe. $5.99 per month or $44.99 a year. You can also donate or gift a subscription at edupexperience.com. That's edupexperience.com.
How do you, me with a doctorate degree, tell my son that college is not, there's no value in a college degree? How do I do that? I think there's going to be
like I went to college, but you shouldn't do it.
You shouldn't go. And what you're telling people, you're really telling people who have limited opportunities where education is so critical for those opportunities for them. What we don't want to happen, and I try to remind myself and talk about this and proposition. I looked at the numbers on our campus, and 66% of our students are women students. And so I was asking, where are the men on our campus? Our lowest numbers of retention are among white men and our African-American men. Our Hispanic men are continuing to persist in school. And what I found is that those young men are leaving or not choosing not to come to school immediately because they can get a job in forklift and other type of manufacturing is so heavy in the upstate that you can get a $20 an hour job that can pay your rent, that can pay for you get a new car, that can pay to take care of you. And many men choose those types of careers. Oftentimes, those careers are not as attractive. Those jobs are not as attractive to women students.
Right.
So what I'm telling young people is there is an A-N-D proposition. You can do that and you can do this. And the reason you want to do that, participate in this economy that's going to require that, when you look at what's happening with AI, innovation, you don't want that forklift to become irrelevant. You're going to be sitting there manipulating already a robot to logistically move products around the plant. You go into a BMW plant, it is highly automated with robots and programming. So the skills you need are going to be programming skills. 4-year degrees in higher education teach you those skills. So while you're making that $20 an hour, you need to also be preparing yourselves for that role to become irrelevant. And this role that is not yet described or created to be what you're going to have to step into. We don't want another Pontiac, Michigan or Detroit, Michigan, where people were very skilled in automobile industries and putting together big parts. And then when that industry changed, they didn't have the skills, or when it left, they didn't have any transferable skills to go into other types of industries. So that's part of the value proposition of the and. And then where we step in as a regional comprehensive university is making sure that the people participating in that and proposition can do it seamlessly. They can go to night classes, online classes. We have classes that are scheduled around their schedules. We have classes in the plant facilities with them. Our engineering program, we have actually started our industrial engineering program to have what's called labs in industry. So actually our students are taking their labs in the industries where they will be working. There are 500 vacant industrial engineering jobs in South Carolina that they can't find people for. So we created that degree to fill that. And because 70% of our students stay in the upstate of South Carolina, more than likely an engineer that graduates from us is going to stay in within a 100-mile radius of where they lived and graduated. So, so we're doing those types of things to continue to be workforce relevant.
You know, it is interesting when you say that, too, because if there are a lot of job openings, employers will go find the candidates. And so it's almost like it's an employer perpetuated problem when you go and you get the candidate who, instead of them going to college, you put them into the workforce. And then at some point you're going to go, wow, we really want to take, John and give him a promotion, but he doesn't have any leadership skills. You know, we can't have him lead people. He's just only knows how to do the forklift. So, we got to bring education back in, and then it forces us, or not forces, but it takes the university, and we have to go then where the students are, right? Rather than the students coming to us, which is why I think going to the plants and going to the businesses and bringing the education there is a powerful methodology.
Yeah. Actually, Joe, we did a survey of 700 industry leaders across the upstate of South Carolina, asking them what are the things that they need from higher education? What are the things they need from not just higher education, but education? And consistently, there were 6 groups that were identified, 6 themes, rather. Building the skills gap, building effective mentorship programs, the future of continuing education in industry, business and economic partnerships, creating inclusive work environments, and how to make on-the-job training more effective. So we took those 6 pillars and we started something called the Upstate Talent Forum. And that talent forum now convenes about 250 people. It is set to convene about 300 this coming year. And we probably more than that, because we're going to open it beyond the region to the entire state and probably the southeastern region states. And what we're bringing our industry together, K through 12 leaders, higher education leaders, and we're talking about workforce planning for the future. Consistently, what they're saying, the skills that they need people to have, we call them soft skills, but they're becoming much more what industries are calling essential skills. Yes. How to communicate, how to work in team, how to think creatively, how to be a conceptual thinker, how to show up, okay? How to show up on time, okay? So, so we're looking at many of these things that are humanities related. How do we amplify the humanities in our technical and career-focused curriculum? And those are some of the things that we're doing, whether it's with language, whether it's with communication, public speaking, all of those types of things. Matter of fact, we'll reimagine our entire language programs to see how do we make them much more of immersion language ready. We have 575 global international companies in the upstate of South Carolina. When you look at those companies, everyone who's a vice president and above is bilingual. So having students come from this region of South Carolina who only speaks one language, and foreign cultures and languages are uncomfortable and intimidating for them, are not going to be competitive when they go into the workforce in a company that's right in their backyard. So what we're doing is say, how do we integrate the skill and these experiences and exposure into every student at USC Upstate? That's our next tier. How do we integrate multi-language and multiculturalism into every student at this university so that when they walk out of our doors, they have the confidence to command and claim any opportunity they want to from a global perspective?
When you go back to your personal motto, your mantra of inspire and develop young people to change the world, is that what's missing? You know, if you talk to young people today, what's missing from a young person today than a young person 20 years ago? Is it the multicultural exposure? Is it workplace skills of showing up on time? Is it reliance on social media? What do you think is the gap that we're teaching to?
There is not one thing that's missing. I think if I were to try to package it all into one concept, I don't think we have brought our young people along with what it's going to take to be competitive in a global society.
Yeah.
When I came along, I was very much aware of the globe, and I was very much aware of the competition out there. And I was very much aware of the science and math needs and communication needs that I needed to be able to participate in a Japanese economy or a German economy or an Indian economy or even a Latin America. I was aware of it. The globe was much bigger, though, so I was more prepared for that unknown. Because the globe is so much smaller now, I think our young people in our curriculum takes for granted that folks are aware of what needs to happen in order to participate.
That's a good
Now,
point.
those students from those other countries don't take that for granted. We have Indian students who come here very ready to learn all they can from an American culture so they can participate in that economy and take that back to their country in order to be more competitive. Our students not always thinking about that because they are not aware of I don't think that they are as aware of the competition, of the need, and all of those things. And also there's a great amount of responsibility on young people today that I don't think we have brought along with them as they have grown up. The responsibility is that just like you and I have this conversation, I have a responsibility to this conversation. I have a responsibility to who Joe is, to what inspires you, what is important to you, and not just to myself. So there's a responsibility in having a smaller globe. Mm-hmm. When my kids fly all over the country doing different types of things, they are having fun, but they're not thinking about the responsibility they have to the places where they're flown with their friends for a vacation. That responsibility is not showing up. When you look at what's happening on the national scale with President Trump's tariff, with his perspective around globalization, the limited visas and the shutdown of the student visas and all of those types of things, now that responsibility is being amplified in terms of how, we were not prepared for this. What does this mean? And I think when we lack making sure that we amplify civics in our curriculum and we de-emphasize that along the way, we forgot how we came together. We became ignorant to how this country evolved and became the great country that it actually is. And it's not just about the nationalism of this country. It's about what type of democracy and capitalism make it possible for a person to come from South Africa and become the richest man in the world in this country. What type of democracy and capitalism does it take for a person to come from India or from Pakistan or from Saudi Arabia who couldn't participate in their economy over there, but can come here and participate and become a multimillionaire and billionaires? That didn't happen by accident. Our democracy, the republic that we exist in, our capitalism society created a pathway for the least of us, like Barack Obama's and Bill Clinton and those folks to become and hold the highest office in this country. I don't think our young people appreciate that journey.
Yeah.
And when you don't appreciate the journey, you miss all the flowers along the way. And you miss all
or understand how hard that journey
understand how hard that it took to build that bridge. So in response to your question, there's not one thing, but I think there's a concept that's much more global or more holistic that we got to lean into.
You think artificial intelligence makes that conversation that we have to fix more important or easier to fix? Because
more important.
Yeah, I think so too, right? Like we got to have a civics conversation all the time.
Yeah, more important, not easier. It's going to be harder because now you can bypass so much, okay? Yep. It's kind of like when I came along, there were party lines, telephone, and then it went to a rotary dial.
Yeah.
You know, and then it was like our neighbor, like, hey, I'm on the phone. Our neighbor was down the house. So that kind of date me, right? And then we went to rotary dial. And then we went to the big old cell phone that, you know, the big boxes where you really arrive and you carry it around and perpetrate. But when you miss that journey of how you get there, that's where the math teacher was such a stickler on showing your work.
Yeah.
But I did it in my head. Show your work. There's learning in the process. AI is going to miss the learning in the process phase for our kids.
Yeah.
Understanding why we need to ask better questions of the requests that we make of AI. Why we need to question things and ask questions. Is there any bias in the report that AI has given me or the data that is spewed out? What may be the potential bias? Because it's input in creates output out, right? So what has been placed into the AI algorithms that is responding to X or responding to this medical need or this radiological need or this whatever question. So if we stop asking those questions or even thinking about asking those questions, then we have this misguided trust, and we make decisions based on that.
Our kids have it's a on-demand culture, an on-demand world. My 10-year-old, when I'm not in the room, or my wife, she'll ask Alexa how to do these problems that she's dealing with in fifth grade math. When I go up and help her with fifth grade math, she'll say, just look it up on your phone. And I say, I will literally sit here and reteach myself how to do these, how to divide these fractions, because there's no way I'm going to ask for help. Not only because I should be able to figure it out, which fifth grade math is actually pretty tough, but I don't want to give her the ease. I don't want to be the one that shows her how easy it is. Just ask Alexa or ask my AI program to give me the answer, because she'll remember that forever, right? That's what we're fighting against.
You know, I think AI creates an entitled society. Now, I'm not anti-AI, but it does create an entitled society. It's kind of like having kids, raising kids. If you give your kid everything, they will have very limited appreciation of what it takes to get anything.
That's right.
Okay. And AI does that for us. It makes us entitled, which makes us lazy. I have been using Google Apps. I live in a new community in Spartanburg, not a big community. And I use Google Maps or one of these things just to get around, whatever. And when I decided intentionally to stop using it, can you believe that I had a problem getting from the south side, from the east side to the west side?
Did you go actually buy a map?
No, I didn't do it. I kind of got lost in the side. Let me allow myself to get lost. But what I did end up doing was going on my phone and looking at the community and the roads.
Yeah.
And seeing how the community connect. I used to take pride in being able to read maps and direction as a kid. I become so dependent on pressing Google Maps or pressing whatever. I can't think of which one I was using.
Probably the Apple Maps. Yeah.
Yeah, pressing that and being able to anticipate any, mitigate any traffic patterns, et cetera. And then I realized I really don't know how to get from point A to point B on the other side of a town, and this town only has 55,000 people in it.
That's such a good point. I never thought about that.
When I decided to intentionally not do that, it took some brain thinking to do that. And I think that's what AI is going to do if we're not cultivating our brains to think and to be active is going to become extremely lazy. And I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not a physician, but I would not be surprised that we're going to have other types of onset of mental diseases, neurological diseases, because we're not using it. If you don't use them, you lose them, right?
You're such a good point. I literally yesterday I was having the thought. I drive my kids to soccer practice every week to the same place, and I'm using my map still, and it's only like 4 miles from my house. I'm like, why don't I know how to get here? It's because I'm always looking at the stinking map, and I'm never actually watching where I'm going or saying the road over in my head. All right, I'm gonna have to write an article about that now because that is so good.
Yeah,
it's so right.
And
oh man, what a good conversation. I want to give you the opportunity to wrap it up for us. Tell us anything else that you want the audience to know about USC Upstate, and then close us out with what you see for the future of higher education.
Well, I think I talked a lot about the university and our value proposition. We are an institution that is becoming, as a regional comprehensive university, and many and your listeners will know the difference. But what I've come to recognize that the lines among different types of institution at USC Upstate, those lines are very blurred. And they're blurred because we have to serve the people in our region, which means that our students have to have an affinity and an appreciation for the humanities. It means that those students have to be ready for the workforce. It means that those students have to have an appreciation for language and culture, because in this 10-county region where they exist, there's a high influence of different languages and culture there. So as a result of that, we have to create a citizenry and a workforce that is extremely relevant and can be competitive and can ask the hard and deeper questions. That's the type of institution that we are. We're a great place to be. We work very well with our faculty, our staff, our students, our administration, our community. Our alumni are very, very engaging. And I'm just amazed at what we've been able to accomplish in such a short time. As I think about the landscape of higher education nationally, I serve on the board of the American Colleges of State Institutions and University. American Association, the American Association of State Universities.
AASCU.
Yes, thank you. I serve on that board, and as such, I recognize that we are educating about 66%, we are conferring about 66% of all the bachelor's degrees in the country. When you think about the impact that we are having on this country, education is still the best possible way for all of us to participate in this economy, and have dreams actualize and come true. So I worry about whether or not we continue to invest in Pell Grants, continue to invest in student loans. 216 million people have benefited from Pell Grants since 1972. Americans have benefited from that. Student loans, the value of that. We have a responsibility to pay our loan back. I paid mine back. But we still have to make those opportunities accessible for all of our students to participate. Otherwise, we're going to move to an economy where the class is so vast between the haves and the have-not. And we're going to move to an economy where there's a lot of resentment in this country against those who do have, because the pathways for those who do not have has become so difficult to achieve. That is not who we are. And that is something that we should all fight for and protect.
Were you at the ASCU National Conference in Puerto Rico?
Yes, I was.
I was there too.
Oh, you?
I spoke for a few minutes up on stage about the podcast and stuff. So I'll be there again when the next one. So we'll get a chance to meet in person.
Okay, I will see you there. Millie Garcia, she was the president at the time, and now Chuck is the president.
Chuck Welsh. Yep, very, very well. That'll be great to meet you in person. So we'll have a connection. Maybe do a live podcast next time.
Excellent, Joe. I would love that.
Well,
Joe, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, there he is, everyone. I got you an applause coming in. I got to fix your intro going out. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, your guest today, Dr. Bennie Harris. He's Chancellor of the University of South Carolina Upstate. And my guest today, ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp'd.
Support the podcast trusted by higher ed leaders. Get early, ad-free access, and exclusive leadership content by supporting Elvin and Joe for only $5.99 a month or $44.99 a year. You can also donate or gift a subscription at edupexperience.com. That's EDUPexperience.com.